Sarah Chen-Martinez was having what could generously be described as a monumentally terrible day. It had started with her teenager Tommy managing to somehow reprogram their home's AI to speak exclusively in movie quotes from the 1980s, which would have been impressive if it wasn't so annoying. Continued with her quantum coffee maker exploding spectacularly, she blamed that discount Q fuel from SpaceMart, and was now reaching its pinnacle with the revelation that her son had apparently stolen her personal shuttle for an unauthorized joy ride through the Orion arm. Computer Sarah growled, stomping onto the bridge of her backup vessel, tracked Tommy's quantum signature. Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it, the AI responded helpfully, having synchronized with their home system. I swear to God, when I get my hands on that kid, Sarah muttered, dropping into the pilot's seat and beginning launch sequences. Give me his location and actual coordinates, you Silicon Brain movie buff. The AI managed to produce a string of coordinates that put Tommy somewhere in the direction of the Pleiadian Empire's territory. Because of course her idiot teenager would choose to joyride straight into the space of the most uptight, bureaucratic species in the known galaxy. The same species that had been giving humanity the galactic cold shoulder ever since first contact 40 years ago. Your coordinates show young Thomas has entered restricted space. Another AI voice chimed in, this one belonging to the local space traffic control. Be advised that pursuit could trigger an interstellar incident. Sarah snorted, pushing the throttle forward. Yeah? Well, they should have thought about that before they let a 16-year-old human kid breach their impenetrable defense grid. Override safety protocols, authorization Chen-Martinez Alpha 7. The ship's engines roared to life as Sarah punched through the atmosphere, her mom rage burning hotter than the plasma trail she left in her wake. The Pleiadians were about to learn a very important lesson about getting between a human mother and her wayward offspring. 3 hours and several ignored warning broadcasts later, Sarah found herself face to face with the Pleiadian border patrol. Their crystalline ships glittered menacingly in the starlight as they surrounded her vessel. Unidentified human craft, a prissy voice came over the comms. You have entered sovereign Pleiadian space. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded for processing. Estimated processing time 47 standard cycles. 47. Sarah's eye twitched. Listen here, you overdressed space peacock. My kid is out there somewhere in your territory, probably getting into even more trouble as we speak. I don't have time for your processing. All entities entering Pleiadian space must follow proper protocols. Yeah? Does that include teenage humans and stolen shuttles? Because seems to me your protocols already failed there, buddy. There was a long pause on the other end of the comm. Sarah could practically hear the Pleiadian officer's crystalline feathers ruffling. We have no record of any other human vessels entering this sector. Well then, your records are about as useful as a screen door on a submarine, aren't they? Sarah pulled up Tommy's quantum signature on her displays. See this? This is my son's genetic marker, clear as day, moving through your space. So either your security is even worse than I thought, or somebody's lying. Either way, I'm going to find my kid. She gunned the engines, diving between two of the crystal ships before they could react. Their formations scattered like startled pigeons, which would have been funny if Sarah wasn't so annoyed. This is highly irregular, the Pleiadian officer squawked. Return to your previous position, or we will be forced to take action. Oh, honey. Sarah said, her voice dripping with motherly condescension. You really don't want to do that, because then I'd have to explain to your superiors how you not only lost track of an unauthorized human teenager in your space, but also managed to get your ships wrecked by an angry mom in a civilian vessel. How's that going to look on your performance review? The silence that followed was deeply satisfying. We will escort you, the officer finally managed, sounding like the words physically pained them. Now that's more like it. See how much easier things are when we cooperate. What followed was perhaps the most awkward escort mission in galactic history, with Sarah cheerfully pointing out holes in Pleiadian security protocols while following Tommy's trail deeper into their territory. The border patrol ships followed in her wake like a bunch of sulking teenagers themselves. It was somewhere around the third star system that things got interesting. Tommy's signal led them to a massive space station that definitely wasn't on any official maps. The kind of station that screamed illegal black market in every language. Well, Sarah mused, what do we have here? An unauthorized trading post in pristine Pleiadian space. How embarrassing for you folks. The border patrol commander was practically hyperventilating over the comms. This is impossible. This sector is supposed to be empty. Honey, I've raised a teenager. Nothing's impossible. Now, are we going to check this place out, or do I need to make some calls to the Galactic press about Pleiadian security oversights? The commander's response was a string of crystalline cursing that the translator refused to touch. The station, as it turned out, was exactly what it appeared to be: a massive unauthorized trading hub where various species conducted business away from prying eyes, including, apparently, quite a few Pleiadians who really didn't want their presence there broadcast to their government. Sarah strode through the marketplace like she owned it, her unwilling Pleiadian escort trailing behind her, trying to look both authoritative and inconspicuous at the same time. It wasn't working.
Mum, a familiar voice squeaked from somewhere to her left. Sarah turned to see Tommy frozen in place next to a stall selling what appeared to be contraband quantum technology. Several other human teenagers stood with him, looking like deer caught in headlights.
Thomas. James. Chen-Martinez. Sarah's voice could have frozen a sun. Would you care to explain what you're doing 3-star systems away from home with? She glanced at the quantum tech, what I'm pretty sure is restricted military-grade equipment. Tommy looked at his friends, then at the increasingly pale Pleiadian merchant, then back at his mother. Would you believe we're doing a school project? On what? How to give your mother an aneurysm. Actually, one of Tommy's friends piped up. We're trying to prove that the Pleiadians have been deliberately suppressing quantum tech advances to maintain their market dominance, and he cut off as both Tommy and Sarah glared at him. I'll shut up now. Sarah pinched the bridge of her nose. So let me get this straight. You stole my shuttle, broke into restricted space, and found an illegal trading post just to prove a conspiracy theory about Pleiadian trade practices. Well, when you say it like that, it sounds bad. Oh, it's about to get worse. Sarah turned to the Pleiadian Border Patrol commander, who looked like he wanted to be literally anywhere else in the galaxy. So, Commander, care to explain why there's restricted military tech being sold at this totally doesn't exist black market station in your territory? Or should I start making those calls? What followed was several hours of the most awkward negotiations in recorded history, as Sarah somehow managed to leverage her knowledge of the illegal trading post, her son's evidence of tech suppression, and the Border Patrol's complete security failure into a new human Pleiadian trade agreement. One that coincidentally gave humanity access to all those supposedly restricted quantum technologies. By the time they headed home, Sarah had accidentally reformed Pleiadian trade policy, exposed a centuries-old conspiracy, gotten humanity fast-tracked into the Galactic Economic Council, and grounded Tommy for a month. You realize you just changed the entire balance of power in this sector of space, right? Tommy asked as they approached Earth, his friends squished into the back of Sarah's shuttle, while the Border Patrol shamefully escorted them home. And you're still grounded. But Mom, we helped expose corruption in an advanced alien civilization. You also stole my shuttle and could have started an interstellar incident. We kind of did start an interstellar incident. Not helping your case, kiddo. Sarah glanced at her son. Though I have to admit, your little investigation was pretty impressive. Stupid and reckless, but impressive. Tommy perked up. So does that mean, still grounded? But Sarah smiled slightly. Maybe we can talk about channeling those investigation skills more productively. The new Human Pleiadian Trade Commission will need some sharp eyes to keep everyone honest. Really? Sure, after your grounding. And after you fix my AI. Nobody puts baby in a corner, the ship's AI chimed in helpfully. Sarah sighed. It had been a long day. She'd tracked down her son, accidentally conquered 3-star systems worth of space, restructured the galactic economy, and she still hadn't had her morning coffee. At least tomorrow would be less exciting. Then the AI started playing the Ghostbusters theme song, and Sarah remembered she still had to deal with that particular problem. I appreciate you trying to lighten the mood, she told the AI, but we're going to have a long talk about appropriate musical choices once we get home. Life is like a box of chocolates. Tommy snickered in the co-pilot's seat, then quickly tried to look contrite when his mother glared at him. The other teenagers were unsuccessfully trying to hide their grins. As they approached Earth's atmosphere, Sarah couldn't help but smile slightly herself. It wasn't exactly how she'd planned to spend her day, but she had to admit it made for one hell of a story. Even if she was going to be spending the next few weeks dealing with diplomatic fallout and trying to get movie quotes out of her home's operating system. Just another day in the life of a space-age mom, really. Though next time she was definitely making sure the quantum coffee maker was working before dealing with any potential interstellar incidents. A woman had to have priorities. After all, the thing about accidentally reforming galactic trade policies and exposing centuries-old alien conspiracies, Sarah discovered, was that it made your next week really inconvenient. Mrs. Chen-Martinez, the holographic Pleiadian diplomat hovering over her kitchen counter, said stiffly, "We must discuss the implementation timeline for the new trade agreements." Sarah held up one finger while she finished programming her replacement quantum coffee maker. She wasn't dealing with any more diplomatic nonsense until she had caffeine in her system. The last one had exploded in spectacular fashion, and she wasn't taking any chances with this model. "With all due respect, Ambassador," she replied, carefully measuring out the Q fuel. "It's 6 a.m. Earth time and I haven't had my coffee. Also, my house AI is still stuck in 1980s movie mode. And I'll be back," the AI interjected helpfully. And that's getting real old real fast. Sarah took a long sip from her finally working coffee maker. "Now, what's so urgent that you're calling me at dawn?" The Pleiadians' crystalline features shifted in what Sarah had come to recognize as their equivalent of nervous fidgeting. "Well, you see, after your incident, certain other species have begun questioning our trade protocols. The Arcturian Confederation is demanding similar concessions. The Regellian Compact is threatening to audit our quantum tech patents. And 3 different smuggling cartels have filed for legitimate business licenses claiming precedent under the Chen-Martinez Accord." Sarah nearly choked on her coffee. "The what now?" "Oh yes, that's what they're calling the new trade agreement. It's become quite the sensation in galactic political circles. There are even commemorative holographs of you telling Commander Zextal that his security was about as useful as a screen door on a submarine." "Fantastic," Sarah muttered. "Look, Ambassador, I'm a mom who works in quantum engineering. I'm not a diplomat or a trade negotiator. I just wanted to find my kid and go home. And in doing so, you managed to restructure 3-star systems worth of economic policy while exposing our government's somewhat questionable technology containment strategies. E.T. Phone home," the AI commented. Sarah glared at the ceiling. Not helping, she turned back to the ambassador. "Okay, fine. What exactly do you need from me?" "The Council of Crystalline Elders has requested your presence at an emergency session to discuss implementation guidelines. They feel that since you were instrumental in creating this situation." "You mean since I caught you running an illegal black market and suppressing tech development?" The ambassador's crystals flushed a deep purple. "Since you helped identify certain regulatory oversights, they believe your input would be valuable in preventing future incidents." Sarah looked at her coffee, then at the clock, then at her son's closed bedroom door where he was presumably still sleeping off his adventure-induced grounding. "Let me get this straight. You want me, a random human mom, to help restructure your entire society's approach to trade and technological development?" "That is correct." "Worry. Because I caught you breaking your own rules while looking for my kid." "Also correct." Sarah sighed deeply. "You realize this is absolutely insane, right?" "Insanity is relative, Mrs. Chen-Martinez. In the past week, you've managed to do what our most skilled diplomats couldn't accomplish in 40 years of negotiations. The Council believes your unique perspective could be invaluable." "My unique perspective is that I'm a mom who's really tired of people making my life more complicated than it needs to be." Sarah refilled her coffee cup. "But fine. I'll help, on 2 conditions. The ambassador straightened hopefully. "Yes. First, I want access to your quantum engineering archives, all of them, including the stuff you've been hiding. If we're going to have real trade, let's have real trade. That could be arranged." "And the second condition?" Sarah smiled sweetly. "You're going to send someone to fix my AI, right now, because if I have to hear one more, life finds a way," the AI interrupted. Movie quote, "I'm going to lose it completely. And trust me, Ambassador, you haven't seen anything yet compared to what a truly pissed-off mom can do." The ambassador's crystals paled to an almost transparent state. "I'll have a tech team there within the hour." "Perfect. Now, about those implementation guidelines." The next few hours were a blur of diplomatic negotiations, technical specifications, and increasingly desperate attempts by Tommy to argue his way out of being grounded, despite having helped advance human-alien relations. "Mom," he tried for the 100th time while she reviewed proposed trade routes, "we basically made history. Shouldn't that count for something?" "What counts," Sarah replied without looking up from her holoscreen, "is that you stole my shuttle, endangered yourself and your friends, and made me miss my morning coffee. though I will give you points for thoroughness in your investigation. Tommy brightened. So does that mean still grounded? But she finally looked at him. I might have a project for you and your friends once you're off restriction. The Pleiadians need someone to audit their technology sharing programs, make sure they're actually following through. Someone who's good at finding things that aren't supposed to be found. Really? You mean it? Mm-hmm. Consider it an internship in interstellar relations, assuming you can go that long without stealing any more shuttles. Hey, it all worked out in the end. That is not the lesson I want you taking from this, young man. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of the Pleiadian tech team, who looked simultaneously awed and terrified to be in the presence of the human who had accidentally reformed their civilization's trade policies. Mrs. Chen-Martinez, their leader, said formally, "We are here to assess your AI situation." "Run, Forrest, run," the AI contributed. The tech team's leader's crystals flickered in confusion. "Is it supposed to do that?" "No," Sarah said firmly. "No, it is not. Fix it, please. Before I have to explain to the Council of Crystalline Elders why I'm quoting Top Gun at them." As the tech team got to work, Sarah couldn't help but marvel at how quickly life could change. A week ago, she'd been a normal mom dealing with normal teenage drama. Now she was helping reshape galactic trade policy while trying to keep her son from turning his accidental conspiracy busting into a full-time career before he finished high school. "You know," she told Tommy as they watched the Pleiadian tech's work, "when I imagined your teenage years being difficult, this wasn't exactly what I had in mind." "Could be worse," he grinned. "I could have exposed corruption in the Arcturian Confederation instead." "Don't even joke about that. I haven't had enough coffee to deal with another interstellar incident." Speaking of which, Tommy looked suddenly thoughtful. "You remember how the Arcturians have those weird energy crystal things they won't share with anyone?" "Tommy, no. I'm just saying, if someone were to look into." "Tommy." Fine, fine," he held up his hands in surrender. "No more exposing alien conspiracies until after I'm ungrounded." Sarah pointed a warning finger at him. "Or ever." The correct answer is or ever. But she could see the gleam in his eye, the same one she'd had at his age when presented with an interesting problem to solve. Heaven help the galaxy her son had found his calling, even if it was in the completely unexpected field of accidentally reforming alien civilizations. "May the Force be with you," the AI said sagely as the tech team began their repairs. Sarah just sighed and went to make more coffee. Something told her she was going to need it. After all, she still had to prepare for her meeting with the Council of Crystalline Elders, figure out how to implement galaxy-wide trade reform, and somehow maintain her authority as a parent despite her son's new status as an accidental interstellar whistleblower. Just another day in the life of a space-age mom who couldn't even get through her morning routine without somehow changing the course of galactic history. At least the coffee maker was working again. Sometimes that was all you could ask for. The Council of Crystalline Elders, as it turned out, was even more pompous than Sarah had imagined. Their meeting chamber was a vast cathedral of light refracting crystal, clearly designed to intimidate visitors with its grandeur. Sarah, running on her fourth cup of quantum coffee and the lingering irritation of maternal concern, was distinctly unimpressed. So she said, standing before the towering crystalline forms, "Shall we discuss how you managed to lose track of a teenage human in a stolen shuttle, or should we skip straight to the part where you explain the illegal tech suppression?" One of the elders' crystals flickered in what might have been a wince. "Mrs. Chen-Martinez, perhaps we could approach this with more diplomacy." "Honey, I've spent the last week dealing with a reprogrammed AI that wouldn't stop quoting Terminator while trying to ground a son who thinks he's the next great galactic reformer. I'm all out of diplomacy. Let's talk facts." The facts, as it turned out, were even more interesting than Tommy's initial investigation had suggested. The Pleiadians hadn't just been suppressing technology, they'd been using their bureaucracy as a weapon, tangling other species in so much red tape that they never noticed the real games being played with quantum tech patents and trade routes. "Fascinating," Sarah mused, reviewing the data streams. "You've basically weaponized paperwork." "We prefer the term administrative advantage," one elder said stiffly. "You turned filing forms into an art of war." "I'd be impressed if it wasn't so ridiculous." Sarah looked up from the documents. No wonder Tommy managed to slip through. He's been dealing with high school administration. This probably felt familiar. They got a laugh from the younger Pleiadians in the chamber, quickly stifled under the elders' stern gazes. Sarah noticed that quite a few of the younger generation seemed almost relieved that their society's practices were being exposed. Interesting. Mrs. Chen-Martinez, the head elder's voice rang out. What exactly do you propose we do about this situation? Sarah smiled. It was the same smile she used when Tommy tried to explain why his room wasn't technically messy, just alternatively organized. Well, first, you're going to stop pretending that bureaucracy is a valid form of interstellar relations. Second, we're going to set up a joint human Pleiadian oversight committee, and yes, my son and his friends will be involved. Because apparently they're better at finding your hidden trade posts than your actual security forces. That's preposterous, one elder sputtered. They're children. Children who managed to expose your entire shadow economy in less time than it takes to file a basic travel permit in your system. Imagine what they could do if they were actually trying. The council chamber erupted in crystalline murmuring. Sarah waited patiently, sipping her coffee. She'd learned that sometimes the best parenting technique was just letting people talk themselves out. Apparently it worked on alien civilizations too.
Finally, the head elder spoke again. Your terms are unconventional.
Story of my life lately. But perhaps not unreasonable. We have become somewhat rigid in our ways. Several younger Pleiadians perked up visibly at this admission. Sarah made a mental note. Looked like Tommy wasn't the only one ready for some changes around here. Tell you what she said, let's make this simple. You implement the reforms we discussed, I'll help set up the oversight committee, and we'll all pretend this was an intentional diplomatic breakthrough, instead of what it actually was, a mom having to chase her kid across 3 star systems. And what do you get out of this arrangement? One elder asked suspiciously. Sarah grinned. Besides the satisfaction of turning your entire society upside down, I get to use this as a teaching moment for my son about actions and consequences. Sometimes the best punishment is making someone take responsibility for the changes they've started. The council agreed, though Sarah suspected it was partly because they couldn't figure out if she was helping them save face or threatening them with more teenage interference. Either way, by the time she headed home, the Chen-Martinez Accords were officially expanded to include a youth exchange program, a technology sharing initiative, and a complete overhaul of the Pleiadian bureaucratic system. So Tommy asked when she finally made it back, how'd it go? Well, you're still grounded, Sarah said, dropping onto their couch. But congratulations, you're also now the junior human representative to the new Interstellar Youth Advisory Council. Tommy's eyes widened. The what? Turns out the Pleiadian young ones are as fed up with their system as you were. So we're setting up a program for young humans and aliens to work together on improving galactic relations. Consider it constructive channeling of your newfound talent for causing diplomatic incidents. Mom, that's actually amazing. And you'll start right after you finish being grounded and fix the last few bugs in our AI. Houston, we have a problem, the AI chimed in. Sarah pointed at the ceiling. See what I mean? Tommy laughed. Okay, I guess I did kind of deserve that. He paused. Mom, thanks for coming after me, even if it did accidentally overthrow an alien government's trade policies. Honey, I'll always come after you. Though maybe next time you could confine your social justice crusades to something a little closer to home. I hear the school cafeteria could use some reform. After restructuring alien civilizations. That might be too easy. Sarah threw a couch pillow at him. Don't push it, kiddo. Now come on, help me make dinner. I've had enough of alien cuisine this week. As they headed to the kitchen, Sarah reflected on how quickly life could change. 1 minute you're trying to get your morning coffee, the next you're reforming alien civilizations and setting up intergalactic youth councils. All because your teenager decided to go on an unauthorized adventure in space. You know what's funny, Tommy said as they cooked. All this started because I was trying to prove the Pleiadians were keeping secrets. I never thought it would end with them actually listening to us. Sometimes Sarah replied wisely, all it takes is one mom who's too tired and caffeine-deprived to put up with bureaucratic nonsense. Speaking of which, she glanced at the ceiling. AI music, please. Something not from the 1980s. Here's looking at you, kid, the AI responded, but obligingly started playing something more contemporary. Sarah smiled. Life might not be normal anymore if it ever had been, but at least it was interesting. And hey, at least Tommy's next teenage rebellion would have official diplomatic oversight. That had to count for something, right? Hasta la vista, baby, the AI added cheerfully. Then again, maybe she'd better stock up on quantum coffee. Something told her she was going to need it.